Good morning, all, and welcome to GM Tips. This is GM Rick, and I'm talking with you today about prep work. Let me see, I'm going to pull this up a little bit so we get a little better view of things. How is everybody this morning? Hope good on a gaming morning. So, one of the things I like doing before a session is prep work. Why is that? Prep work really sets the tone for when players come in that they're ready to play. So, there's a couple things I do in prep work. I bring out any of my visual aids. Now, sometimes I'll hide them so players don't see them. Bring out the dice towers. Love the dice towers. Kind of a fun effect of randomness when they drop their dice down them. I bring out the miniatures. And as you're going to see, and I'm going to come around and get the camera because I saw my last cast, which was my first round of trying to do this, and it didn't work real well. By the way, our mascot, Cassie. So what I do is I lay out the scenery for the players. So in this case, these are dog sleds. This is their woolly mammoth that my fiance so graciously got from Michael's. Their yurt that they were staying in. This was a house that they came upon. I put their names over here. Why is that? Because I'll put their roles that they'll do for perception and for other skill sets on those so that we don't have to roll them every time during the session and we can go to them to see what the players will do. I do my minis. As you can see, since we're in a winter campaign, we have the Ice Troll, the Boreal Ogre, the Annis Hag, the White Dragon, and the other Ogre. We also have various Punch-Out minis. I love these, and I have a case full of them. The reason is because when you do that, you can have a lot of different NPCs and creatures that you can put on them without a ton of cost. Those you'll see in this cabinet here, I have 2 shelves full of miniatures. Yeah, that much money expended into it, but it's well worth it. I also get, as you can see up there, the Pathfinder pawns. Look at your systems. Reaper minis are great for more of the modern sci-fi campaigns. They've got some great things as well as for the Pathfinder and Dungeons and Dragons, so please utilize them. Dwarven Forge is great for scenery, as is Michael's, as you can see these towers here. Make sure that you use a lot of fun aids. I'm a believer in the cards. Why is that? Well, the critical fumble and the critical hit deck, which we use both in Pathfinder, and people like to confirm those. Now, when it's confirmed, it makes it that much more epic for me. It tells me it's a time to really allow the players to narrate a little more and have fun with it. So what I'll do is I will have them read the card, and then I'll say, okay, describe the situation. And the players love that. It's a lot of fun for them. They really get pulled in to describing what happens. And really, as I've spoken about, and you guys won't see on the previous one because I deleted it, too much light and you couldn't see anything. I'm a believer that this is our player's story. We set the campaign. We set the sceneries. We set the goal. We set the obstacles. We set the surrounding side adventures. But at the end of the day, it is your player's story within that realm. In this case, this is a winter realm. They're going to the winter capital. So they ran into a mammoth. One of the giants, the frost giants, rode a mammoth. They were able to keep the mammoth, tame the mammoth, and now the war priest, and he's an Asmar war priest, by the way, is riding it. So let me take you through and give you a little background on my party. This right here, this war priest, name is Kal-El. Kal-El is a Aasimar who has flight, and he is a tinkerer and a kind of a builder, though he is the meat shield of the party in some ways. That's Scott, my player. He loves meat shields. But that's kind of his background. This one right here is Painvin. Painvin is from the Elven realm in the Inner Sea. So he is an agent for them, and he is helping the queen to understand why the Winter Fae is making encroachments around the world. You have Zorik. He is the Varishian occultist NPC who is with the party to help them on their journey. You have Orin from Taldor. Orin is an Aasimar out of Taldor who is a worshiper of Sarenrae, a goddess of good and of mercy. And so he is the healer in the party. He loves to heal people. That is his goal in life. In fact, he is trying to cure the lycanthropy that had taken his stepfather from him, that he did not understand at the time. And it's a unique lycanthropy. It's not your standard one. So I really ran with that plot. You have Nadia Pesca. Nadia is their guide. She is the Olfin Irisini who is guiding them to the city. She's just dropped off her children, so now she's really focusing on the needs of the party. Rothar. Rothar is the conflicted paladin. He is a paladin of Caden Kaleen. Imagine that, a chaotic good god. So he is trying to wrestle with the law of things as well as the more creative side and what's more important as a paladin of Caden. And what is Caden's true goal for him? You have Damien, the lech, the ladies' man, the charmer, the half-fey human Taldoran, despoiler of wives and women everywhere. And his little friend, Remily, the pixie. Remily is a swashbuckler pixie from Taldor, from the forest. She is there to help stop the encroachment of winter into Taldor. So that sets the tones. You can see I know a little bit of background story, not only the NPCs, but on your PCs. That's why background story is so important. It helps you to really set the framework in the story, and that's why I dove into that a little bit. Make sure you have your erasable markers or dry erase markers. Always good. What I recommend is with these maps, draw your first map out and have the additional maps. And I'll be doing this after we get off this cast to do that so that we have all the things set up and there's no slowdowns. Now, again, I have to eventually erase a few of these and write on them, but I try to prep as much as possible. I use this for visuals. Now, again, if you don't like the miniatures and you don't want to use the miniatures outside of your players choosing them, there are fish marbles or Chesic marbles that you can get, that you can lay out, so it still allows characters to visualize. Why am I a believer in a map? I'm a believer in a map because it helps with the mechanics of combat and gameplay and interaction. You don't have to take that, but for me as a GM, it helps the players to visualize much more clearly what they're going to do with their skills and feats. And it makes it that much more epic when they do it. A good, for instance, that I talked about in the last one that I deleted was the fact that our war priest, our Asmar war priest, Kal-El, loves to do death from above. So he will go fly up, and we'll use a little thing to put him up above the opponent, and then come crashing down with his falcata into them. Fun to do it that way, because then you can set them, run them into them, let him kind of describe and really paint the picture for everyone else of what he's doing. And it gives him his creative outlet to really show how powerful his character is. I love these for flashing up portraits of the different NPCs or creatures so they can see them without knowing what it is. So I'll bring it out, I'll hand it to them, I'll let them look at it. They go through and they look at who the person they're interacting with is. So visual aids, I love them. You don't have to as a GM. Some people believe it stifles the creativity. I understand. Discuss it with your players and come up with what works. GM Shield, I get that out. My books. Always spend some time pre-prepping and reading your notes beforehand. And as I said, always have things that bring the characters back to the main story. You don't want to railroad them down the path of the main story. You want to allow them the leeway to go out on a side track, as I call it, and come back. And there's ways you can gently bring them back, but you have to write those out and be prepared ahead of time. Now, we're using a little bit more of the Ultimate Intrigues because of Painvin. Painvin is the gift of gab, as is Damien, the sorcerer, the lecherous sorcerer. So what we do is I have the verbal battle interactions of how they gain XP and how they gain ground and how they gain both notoriety and prestige points. We use those in the campaign. I use fame and prestige points. I believe in them. I think either fame or infamy can be really great depending on whether you're running a good or bad campaign. It helps with the rolls. It really enhances the effect the players are having as they get more powerful and more well-known in an area. When you're prepping, really spend the time. Like I said, an hour and a half, 2 hours beforehand, get everything prepped up. Grab your coffee or tea so you're ready and up and going. Grab your mini GM when she's still in bed, and really get this thing set up. Now, when your players get there, you want to allow them at least a good 20-25 minutes to BS with each other. Catch up, spend things in the week, talk politics, talk whatever you want to talk. But then you transition into the game. That way they don't feel like there's no interaction, there's no friendship, there's nothing. But you don't want them to go too wild with it either. Provide breaks and nosh. Food. You must have food. Whether you order it, whether you bring it in, have good food and drinks there. That way it keeps everybody properly hydrated and ready to go. And really spend time on your players' backstories. I have been bringing more and more into that. I've surprised them because they're usually used to the fact that I tell them to have their backstory and we don't do much. Now we're doing much. Now I'm bringing their backstory really in there so that there's a real presence of it. Now, as you can hear my intonations of the voice, you really want to use intonations when you're describing things. You want to use different voices. For my Irish friends, forgive me. But boy, oh, let me tell you something. If you don't know how to do with things, I will help you. I'm Colin of the Blade, and I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I'm sorry, I know it's Lucky Charms, but it's hilarious, and they love it. Or I will go into my Varishian voice. My Varishian occultist, Zorik, he knows things, and he sometimes thinks about these things, but he doesn't always know why he does these things. It is Desna's throw, or in his case, the black butterfly. Again, you'll laugh. Some of you can do it much better as voice actors and actresses than I can. But it's about building the story and the situation. And have fun with it. Even if it's the stupidest sounding voice, it's okay. Your players will appreciate the fact that you're even trying. And sometimes it'll even annoy them, which you know you're doing a great job when you're annoying them. Keep that in mind. You're there to create and paint. And paint those pictures for them. And the voices, the different intonations, music. Again, big fan of Sirenscape. And there's another one, Battlehammer, and there's some other ones out on YouTube that I love the playlists. I'll put them up. Now, you got to be careful if you got remote players to make sure you don't drown out so they can't hear you. But at the same time, you want that music in there because it's kind of just that build up. And like in movies, it sets the tones and builds it up. And so there's a lot of different things you can do. I suggest getting scenery. So like, for instance, if you can get a bar scene that you can put out that you can center the players on, or a building. Like in this case, we got a Desnan church that my fiance is working on painting that we're going to put out there. Love that because it just draws all that attention right there to where you want the players to be. So have that one or two buildings that maybe if you can afford them and put out there that really draw the players' attention that this is a place of importance in your story. So I think that's it. I'm not going to go too long-winded on this. There's so much you can do, so much you can play up. Really, I'd say on any of these, if you want, have a notepad, write some of these ideas down. You don't have to incorporate all of them, but pick a few. That's the great thing about GMing is you'll go back and view a video time and again, and you'll pick a few more things out of it that you really want to do. You can see I'm very animated and gestured. I am with my players. Something about the gesture either pulls them in or shuts them out if you do this. So open arms, pulling them in, closed arms, shutting them out. Just keep those things in mind and when you're working with this. And try not to use filler words. I know I use so, and some others. I've gotten bad. I used to be really good with Toastmasters about not using those. I've gotten away from that, sadly. I got to get back to it. Hope everyone has a great weekend of gaming. I really enjoy doing these for you guys. I hope you get something out of them. If there's only a few of you that do, I know that I'm doing the right things to help. Have a wonderful gaming weekend, lots of fun gaming, a great Mother's Day. To the mothers out there, thank you so much for all the things that you do every day to raise our children. We love you so much, you just don't even know as fathers and even as children. you mean the world to us. You really do. And we're often ungrateful, thankless souls that make your life a living hell. And I'm sorry for that. But it's what makes you the superwomen that you really are. So I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Mother's Day and know that you are appreciated. And even if we don't always say it, you are. You are truly appreciated by us. Thanks again. GM Rick signing out.